normally do these webinars in the afternoon, but we're doing it in the morning because we have somebody calling in, one of our presenters from Europe, on this webinar. So good morning. My name is Daryl Smith. I'm the Executive Vice President of the Industrial Minerals Association, and we thank you for joining our webinar titled Sustainability Reporting in the Industrial Minerals Industry. I'm very pleased with this webinar and the willingness of our presenters to volunteer their time to talk about their company's sustainable development reports. It just dawned on us that several of our companies now are putting out sustainable development reports every year or every 2 years now, and it would be a good webinar idea to have these folks just come on and give a quick summary of the reports they did during the year. And I think it'll be very interesting for everybody, and especially interesting for people that haven't done a sustainable development report yet. You can kind of get an idea of what the value of these things are, and get some ideas for your own company. So I hope you find it beneficial, and I think we'll try to make this an annual event and hopefully have even more than 4 companies on next year. So with that, I do welcome you, and a couple ground rules for the webinar. At the end of the webinar, we're going to send out everybody's the PowerPoint presentations linked to a recording of this webinar, so you'll be able to watch it again and listen with the slides synced, so that should be beneficial. And as a reminder for all of our webinars, if you sign up to attend and then can't attend, you'll get the recording anyway. So even if you can't attend, it's a good idea just to go ahead and sign up and listen to the recording later. If you have questions during the webinar, and we hope that you do, just type those into your computer at any time. The audience will not be able to speak. Your lines are muted. So just type in your questions, and we'll read those questions to the presenters at the end of the webinar. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first speaker, who is Margie Flynn. And Margie's basically going to talk about the importance of reporting. Margie is a proud Industrial Minerals Association associate member that has helped several of the companies on the line with their reporting. And we just wanted Margie to kick things off. But before that, actually, Dana Cooper with Fairmount is going to do a safety share, which a lot of our companies like to start all of their meetings with. So Dana, if you could do that.
Sure, thank you for that opportunity. I wanted to touch base on distracted driving. There's many forms of that you see in the news and in the papers. So there are 3 main types of distractions when driving. The first is visual, when you're taking your eyes off the road. The second is manual, when you're taking your hands off of the wheel. And cognitive, when you're taking your mind off what you're doing. So just remember, distracted driving is any non-driving activity where a person engages in while operating a motor vehicle. So such activities have the potential to distract the person from the primary task of driving and increase the risk of crashing. So we hear a lot about texting and driving. It's at the same level as alcohol abuse and driving. So we just want to make sure that you're able to set those things aside, not use your cell phone. Don't eat or drink while you're driving. Don't talk to other, talking to passengers can also be an issue. Grooming, reading, including maps, working on your navigation system. I've seen some people this morning driving who are actually watching TV somehow. So just be careful of that, and always bring that awareness to the forefront while you're behind the vehicle.
All right, well, thank you, Dana. That's very important. And, just in the last month, I've noticed 3 or 4 people here in Washington, D.C. walking and talking on their phones, and it literally walked out in front of cars, and the car, fortunately, was paying attention. But so very good advice. So with that, I'm going to introduce Margie. Margie Flynn shares her deeply ingrained passion for the community and belief in doing well and doing good as principal and co-owner of Brown Flynn, an award-winning corporate responsibility and sustainability consulting firm based in Cleveland. Founded in 1996, Brown Flynn is the first U.S. certified training organization to the Global Reporting Initiative and is a silver consultancy partner to the Carbon Disclosure Project. Margie speaks the language of triple bottom line impact and has been instrumental in shaping a variety of responsible practices for regional, national, and global corporations and organizations. So with that, I'll turn it over to Margie. All of our presenters today will have to ask me to advance the slide. We were doing it that way because we didn't want to try to wire in 5 different presenters from different locations. So if y'all will just pardon having to listen to that throughout the presentation. So thank you, Margie.
Thank you, Daryl, and good morning to everyone, and a special thanks to IMA-NA for sponsoring and hosting this webinar today. I think it's great, Daryl, that you and Chris have pulled this together. And also thanks to all the presenters that are going to be following me, because I know that they will all have some great insights to share with all of you. As Daryl mentioned, I'm pleased to be addressing the topic of the importance of reporting and why companies report. If you could move to the next slide, Daryl. There are many reasons why companies of all sizes are reporting, and some terms that are used are either corporate responsibility reporting, sustainability reporting, sustainable development reporting, and or corporate social responsibility reporting. For the context of my presentation, all of these encompass the triple bottom line, so environmental, social, economic, performance, and non-financial reporting. And as you can see from the slide, the reasons why, one of which is the result of sustainability is now becoming a very permanent part of management's agendas in companies as well as their strategic planning. So there's a recent global study that was led by MIT, and it involved more than 3,000 companies across the globe. 70% of the companies have placed sustainability permanently on their management agendas, and 68% of them say that their organization's commitment to sustainability has increased over this past year. So as companies are setting their business goals and communicating their progress, both internally and externally, they've really evolved their sustainability and CR reporting as well. And an important point I do want to make up front in my presentation is that although I may be citing information that relates to publicly traded companies, it is becoming increasingly important for the private companies and smaller companies to recognize their role in the larger company's supply chain and value chain. So if you are in the supply chain of the large, say, energy or manufacturing companies, for example, these companies are increasingly driving sustainability into their supply chains, including pushing for greater transparency and reporting by their suppliers. Next slide, please.
Yeah, and Margie, just a note to you and all of our speakers, when you say next slide, there is a little bit of a delay, so don't worry that I haven't heard you, okay? Thank you.
Great. So why are companies reporting? There are many reasons and many benefits to companies that report, as long as they are approaching, and we believe, approaching the reporting process strategically and holistically, versus just a data collection, gathering exercise, or a check it off the list type of approach. We believe that when companies truly effectively engage their stakeholders and thoroughly evaluate what's material to their organization, they will reap benefits. Not only, of course, brand and reputation enhancement, they'll be able to increase their engagement, not just internally, but build employee pride and trust, clearly improving their public and stakeholder engagement. And in some cases, especially in the industry in which all of you operate, there are oftentimes issues with the community, very difficult issues that many of you have faced, say around the topic of fracking. And so oftentimes just by inviting the fox into the hen house and engaging stakeholders in a more meaningful way and being transparent, there's true value that can be derived for the companies. Clearly operational improvements, strengthening accountability, and then unveiling opportunities for cost savings and revenue generation. So next slide, please. Also reaffirming the points I just made and confirmed by a study that KPMG International did, where corporate responsibility reporting once was seen as fulfilling a moral obligation to society, for example, now many companies are recognizing that it truly is a business imperative. And so today, companies are increasingly demonstrating that sustainability reporting provides financial value, it drives innovation, and we believe it clearly reflects that the old adage of what gets measured gets managed. In our own experience in the market and with our clients, Brown-Flynn has witnessed countless companies, both public and private, who have been able to discover new opportunities for business improvement by engaging stakeholders, assessing their material impacts, analyzing their sustainability reporting data, and developing continuous improvement programs to affect lasting change, which we see as the true benefit of sustainability reporting. Next slide, please. Another point of reference that we think reinforces the increasing importance of and drivers behind sustainability reporting is the increasing number of shareholder resolutions being filed against companies, not only about topics such as fracking, as you'll see here, but also sustainability reporting. So as you can see on this slide, this is looking back to this past year, this slide highlights the content of shareholder proposals on environmental issues that went to vote during the 2012 proxy season to determine what specific environmental issues were most often brought to the boards of directors and to evaluate which issues received the greatest overall support from company shareholders. So just between January and June 30th, you'll see 48 shareholder proposals on environmental issues went to vote, and note the largest percentage, both presented and passed, were related to sustainability reporting. We have seen already this year, this trend is not going away, and we will see and expect more and more shareholder resolutions to be presented on these kinds of topics, and most especially reporting. Next slide, please. Another point, and if you could then click one more time, Daryl, to the next slide, because there's an overlay. Another thing that for any of you who go on to Google Finance, it's just to demonstrate, especially for the public companies, and if you're in the supply chain of these large companies, that you're being watched, and companies are, the information they're disclosed, it's open to the public, instantaneous access to information. And where the arrow points out, here's the Carbon Disclosure Project rating, that's something if you just go back a couple of years, we would never have seen. So placing higher expectations on companies to disclose and report more on their environmental, social, economic, and governance performance. Next slide. Another key benefit that our clients and companies across the globe have reaped as a result of engaging stakeholders in their sustainability, not just goal setting, but reporting process, is really the value of collaboration, most especially with customers and suppliers. And this has, and we believe will continue to be a game changer for many companies. So while this relates to supply chain and collaboration, the whole reporting process, because we really strongly recommend engaging stakeholders in that process, this is another way that companies can benefit from the value of engagement and collaboration. Next slide, please. Another type of reporting that we felt we needed to touch upon, and for those of you who are not familiar with the Carbon Disclosure Project, it's an international not-for-profit organization providing the only global system for companies and cities to measure, disclose, manage, and share vital environmental information. And although it's voluntary, they do work with market forces to motivate companies to disclose their impacts on the environment and natural resources, and to take action to reduce them. So as it relates to reporting, and although again I said it's voluntary, sort of, because there's many large companies that are expecting those in their supply chain to also report to the CDP, the numbers of organizations reporting to CDP continue to escalate, as you can see from this slide. And this type of reporting, the other point to keep in mind, it really has a multiplier effect. Given that the CDP data is also used by financial analysts, it's used by ratings and rankings agencies, and others who are evaluating the sustainability performance of a company. Next slide, please. There's also what's called the CDP Water Disclosure. That's another expectation from CDP for companies to be reporting on their water-related impacts. And CDP now holds the largest collection globally of primary climate change, water, and now forest risk information, and puts these insights at the heart of strategic business, investment, and policy decision makers. So, for example, the CDP Water Questionnaire, this provides a platform for companies to investigate the risks that they may have arising from water scarcity, especially for those that are operating in areas that where that is becoming increasingly critical to their ongoing validity and operations of their company. And I think it's also whether you're going to directly report to the CDP or are in the supply chain of a larger company that has been pressured to report this information. It's important, we believe, for all of you to understand the trends in reporting, whether it's the water disclosure, whether it's the carbon disclosure, whether it's the overall sustainability reporting. It's clear that the evolution is moving more and more and more toward greater transparency. Next slide, please. The other thing that we like to point out to not just our clients, but also those companies that are interested in knowing who's watching. Clearly, companies are being evaluated whether they like it or not. There are now more than 130 different frameworks, agencies, and rankings that companies are being included in, whether they have completed questionnaires or not. And the proliferation of the new players in this space is going to continue to escalate. The point here is, again, you may be receiving as a public company many, many questionnaires. So how do you distill and distinguish which are most important and aligned with your business strategy? But as importantly, if you are in the supply chain of companies that are being asked by, this is just a sampling, that is another example of how the increased transparency and expectation is continuing to rise. So just drawing caution to the wind that while you may not be asked for some of this information today, it's a trend that will continue. Next slide, please. Another resource that I encourage, if you've never heard of CSR Hub, to go online and become familiar with it. It's currently the world's largest corporate social responsibility and sustainability ratings and information database. And they collect environmental, social, governance, economic information right now from nearly 260 sources and currently disclosing information on more than 7,400 companies across the globe. Those numbers are expected to continue to grow. So in this example, I chose Newmont Mining, just for those of you in the mining industry, just as an example for you to see and get a glimpse of the kind of information and ratings that they've included. And you'll also, CSR Hub evaluates all the sources of information, and then through a proprietary evaluation and process, they come up with an aggregate score, which you'll see on the right-hand side. And then on the bottom right-hand side, they also disclose what issues might be unique, special issues, such in this case, they point out that Newmont is a supplier, is a military contractor, and so they do point out some of those special issues. Again, this is instantaneous to this access to this kind of information on companies. So if you have a particular customer or a supplier you wanted to look up and or you might be impacted by, I think it's important that you know about this resource, again, as it relates to reporting and transparency. Next slide. And finally, just to touch upon a couple of the, or a few of the reporting frameworks out there, many of you and those on the call that are presenting today will talk about, I'm sure, the Global Reporting Initiative. But there's also, which is a voluntary framework, it's the gold standard in sustainability reporting across the globe right now and considered most widely adopted. There's also here in the United States what's called the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board. It's really an offshoot of FASB, the Financial Accounting Standards Board, and they are currently in the process of developing a set of standards that would cover 88 industries, and you can sit on working groups for these industries, and they hope to have this completed. The goal is by the end of 2005, which is extremely aggressive.
2015.
Oh, 2015, excuse me, I thought it was, thank you, Carly. But, you know, we describe SASB more as the floor, whereas Global Reporting Initiative is more the ceiling in terms of the information. And SASB, the intended user of the information is the investor, and specific to information included in the 10K of companies' reports. And then there's the International Integrated Reporting Council, and again, with IIRC, they hope to have their framework and rolled out officially by the end of this year. In the meantime, there have been 90 companies that are following an integrated reporting framework that they've developed, and their intended users for the report are primarily providers of financial capital. So it's very unique. GRI is intended to be more flexible and cover a wide range of stakeholders. SASB is particular and focused on investors, and IIRC is most especially focused on providers of financial capital. Just important for, I think, all of you to know the kinds of frameworks that are out there and continuing to evolve. And next slide, and the last slide. Just to point out, oops, I'm sorry, if you could go back one. This is just a very small sampling of companies. You'll see many include the presenters on the call today, and Brown Flynn is also one who is using GRI. There's literally thousands that are following the GRI framework, those that have submitted for an application level from GRI, and others that are using it but not necessarily disclosing or having it checked by GRI. So as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, those companies that approach reporting in a strategic, holistic way, and those that, for example, follow the GRI process as GRI framework as a management process versus just a check it off the list exercise. They engage their stakeholders, evaluate their material impacts, and set their goals, but measure and hold themselves accountable for improvement over time. They're the ones that are going to reap the benefits for their companies, employees, customers, shareholders, communities, and of course other key stakeholders. So that wraps up my portion of the presentation and why we feel it's important to report, and I look forward to hearing everybody else's insights and perspective on the reports that they've been producing. Thanks so much, Daryl, and thanks to IMA-NA.
Thank you, Margie. And next, I'm going to introduce Chris Sheehy. Chris is Vice President of Environmental Health and Safety for Imerys, a global leader in industrial minerals with 240 facilities in 48 countries. Based in Paris, Chris manages a team of 6 professionals responsible for all aspects of environmental health and safety, product stewardship, and sustainable development for Imerys worldwide. And with that, I'll introduce Chris, and his colleague Pearson is going to help out. Chris?
Hi, Dale. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. So you can advance to the first slide, which is our disclaimer, which is a good introduction to what we're doing for reporting. Our reports are themselves, we really look at the reports, they're kind of like just the cherry on the cake, and they're nice, glossy documents that present all of the incredibly hard work that the team that puts together, not only the 6 and 7 people that we have at the group level, at the corporate level, but you know, the 80-odd EHS people, and you know, on top of that, all the HR people and all the people around the globe that have to put all this information together. It's really just the cherry on the cake. We use the data that's generated for investor presentations. And first, let me say we had been doing a sustainable development report every 2 years for the last 8 years. And we decided this year that we're going to put more information into the annual report because it's required now by French securities regulations. We're a French company listed on the French bourse. And the French security regulations require us to have a separate chapter of our annual report now dedicated to sustainable development. So our thinking is that if we're going to have a dedicated chapter in the annual report every year, that having a separate sustainable development report really doesn't make that much sense. So we're evolving this year, and we're thinking of going to 3 years or even less. We're going to see how it goes, but we're going to go to every 3 years when we have a tear-out breakaway sustainable report, and we're going to jack up the information that we have on the internet and try and do things with PDF and other self-publishing type things when the odd occasion makes it necessary for us to have kind of a report like that. But what it is important for is all the data we need to present in the annual report. We do present to the board of directors and to shareholders. This is a shortened version of our presentation we made at what's called we would say a mini road show on sustainable development that was held in Paris by one of our investors by the name of Odo. So we put in this disclaimer, and our investment advisors, our investor relations people said we should keep it in for you because it does disclaim the fact that if you should not rely on any information in this presentation to make an investment decision, that you need to consult the official documents that are available online on our website. So if you advance to the next slide, just a few key figures about Imerys. We are a 3.9 million euro company, about a $5 billion company in revenues, while the current exchange rates are holding before the euro starts to slide.
Hi,
Chris.
Sorry. I think it's because in order to shorten keep in the time frame, so we hide the disclaimer and also the company data, so we come directly to the SD strategy slides because it will save the time for everyone.
Okay. Pearson is the Sustainable Development Manager for Imerys. We moved Pearson to Paris from Shanghai last year. And Pearson was the EHS manager for Asia Pacific for Imerys for 6 years. And he is now the SD manager in the Paris office and put the presentation together, which he sent to me. And apparently I'm looking at something slightly different than what you're doing. And so I'm going to turn it over to Pearson, who's going to talk about the sustainable development strategy. When we talk about the cherry on the cake, it's really the doing of sustainable development and the strategy that underlies our sustainable development that is the cake itself. And Pearson is the guy now in my team that is responsible for helping me put that cake together. So he's going to present the strategy, and I'll present a couple more slides as we go. Go ahead, Pearson.
Okay, thanks, Chris, and thanks, Daryl. Daryl, could you please just go back to the slide 5? Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for Emma to give the opportunity to us to just present ourselves briefly about our SD. So on the strategy and the commitment aspect, we done the SD as many other companies. Internally we drive our SD sustainability with from environmental, social. That's the two main pillars, and also the corporate governance and ethics, which is more or less will link with the financial, economic, or company governance aspect. So today, due to time frame, so we may only cover the sub aspect on the environmental management system, our energy and carbon efficiency initiatives. Also, as a mining company, the biodiversity and the rehabilitation is quite important for us. So we may introduce briefly on that. And on the social aspect, safety and the community are the two keywords among the whole structure. Imerys drive those commitment with kind of internal structure. We try to extract and engage our employees from the bottom level to define our sustainability strategy, and then we have to organize some thinking tank, the SD working group, to just streamline and polish up our strategy, and then put forward some proposal to our company senior management team or steering committee for review. So that's the structure. We drive our strategy and the commitment. Next slide, please. The whole SD action plan was guided in a 3-year plan framework in Emirates. We choose every pillars under the environmental, social, or corporate governance and ethics aspect, and then we engaged. We designed to the working group, make them to discuss and broadly collect the input from operations, how we could drive some improvement, or what we can be, or what's our vision on those specific aspects. So we defined a 3-year plan and by the working group, and then is reviewed by the SD steering committee, and finally we submit to the executive level for adaptation and final approval. And once it's approved, we just follow the 3-year plan framework to put our specific action plans and drive the progress on an annual basis. And the plan rollout is monitored on the ground through the just as Maggie mentioned, that we use GRI, and we also refer some French legislation framework Green Out too. So we monitor those our performance or achievement in the setup of the indicators, like many of other companies. So you may see on the screen we have the different side of a 3-year plan. So the current year is 3-year plan is from 2012 to 2014. And then next year, we're going to have to reboost the next 3-year planning. Next slide, please. And on the environmental stewardship, maybe Chris, you could just step in to talk a little bit more about the environmental management system.
Okay.
Next slide, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We do have specific data that we disclose on air and water and waste, but our approach at Emirates is that the most important aspect of our environmental program is the management systems approach, and what we have required of all of our operations is to meet an internal protocol on environmental management systems. We don't require ISO 14000. We think it's great, and many of our operations are certified to it. As you see, 88 operations, 37% of the total. But it's not required. But what is required is that you do have an environmental management system of some kind that meets we have 8 criteria, and there is a quarterly scorecard that now focuses on priorities. Previously, it was just whether they had obtained compliance with the 8 pillars of our management system. Now, we've evolved beyond that. Everybody is fully green. We've got everybody saying they have the 8 pillars. Now we want to know, okay, well, what is your most important aspect or impact, and what is your most important priority? And we are looking at each one of those now and challenging them. Several of them don't have SMART objectives. They have things like improve, or they're unrelated to their aspect of impact. So we're using this scorecard, which is reported out to the quarterly top management. We use that to monitor the most important, what they consider their highest priority objective and target in their management system. So some of them have 10 objectives. We don't monitor them all. We just try and streamline it because we do have 250 operations that are participating in this. And you can see down below kind of a sample of what it looks like. And it's now part of our audit program that we are doing EMS auditing we have been doing in the past EMS auditing on a binary basis. Either they had it or they didn't. Now we're going more into the qualitative aspect and giving our internal auditors are giving their advice to the operations on whether the way they're doing their EMS is adequate. And this has been very, I think, impressive to the investors and the investment rating agencies. They see that we have a more sophisticated approach. A lot of them would love us to be ISO 14000 certified as a whole, But I tell them if we required everybody to have an ISO 14000 certificate, we'd have lots of nice pieces of paper on the wall that cost us money, but we would not necessarily have a good environmental management system. But what we're doing now is actually managing the environmental management system through this scorecard in a direct way that enables us to sit here across from you, Mr. Investor, and explain to you what the quality of our EMS are, rather than saying, so that's the environmental management systems. Pearson is responsible for the water, but I don't think we have time to talk about the water program or air or waste, so we're just going to talk about energy.
Yeah, just the next slide, please. On energy, in fact, Emory set up a very, I have to say, very aggressive target. We try to reduce our, improve our energy efficiency from 2009 to 2014 by 10%. So for the carbon emission, we believe that when we're working on the energy, consequently, we will reduce our carbon emission. So we don't have set up some strong target for the carbon emission itself, but we focus more on the energy initiatives. So on the energy, you could see on data in the past 4 years, we have made some improvement, but due to different reasons, especially the economy hardship and the volume change, and we improved by 3.5% our energy efficiency. For sure, we have a lot of projects to just replace the coal to LPG or to LNG, and with biomass. Those kind of projects benefit and contribute the efficiency improvement. However, it's still quite tough. I have to say it's very tough to keep 10% improvement, and consequently, the carbon emission, CO2, is decreased on the same period by 5.7%, and that's quite in line with our target. And we participate CDP project already have been participated for 6 years, and with some steady improvement every year. So the Google Finance just showed by Maggie, and you could also find the rate of Emory's CDP scores. So next slide, please. More specifically, because we think if you want to reduce improve your energy efficiency and reduce your carbon emission, you have to know or understand better where you are and what's your highest priorities or the biggest opportunities. So we are now focused on our thermal processes. An overall indicator has, for heat efficiencies, calcination with some smelting processing. So indicator has been defined and as part of a more general project to improve the energy efficiencies. And also in the mining side, that heavy equipment use is kind of oil, diesel, and also electricities. So we set up some pilot project for the highest energy consumption mines operations, and trying to monitor some action plan in those mines, and to define some best practice, and then we can replicate those best practices to other mining operations. And we also try to improve our energy reporting. You know that the CDP, the Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3, the disclosure is we are working on now is move our reporting to Scope 3. We're trying to understand better about our supply chain energy consumption, especially some direct contractors working for our mines. And we also monitor and interpret various variation in the energy consumption in the factories or the mine site, and try to identify what's the contribution, what's the biggest or largest opportunities for improvement. So that's a more practical approach for Emory to work on the energy, and then reduce some carbon emissions. Next slide, please. We don't have time to talk about the water, and but here we think is very important to emphasize the biodiversity, because biodiversity is a kind of a hotspot in Europe. I believe the same there's things in North America. For mining company or even for the raw materials industry sector, we believe that the biodiversity is kind of is very important for our mine planning and mine site rehabilitation. So Immerse right now we have more than almost 120 mining operations, and we take the internationally recognized approach to identify our biodiversity sensitivities. So identifying totally we have 37 mining operations close to some biodiversity, some area with high biodiversity values, and then we try to evolve our approach to just progressively put some biodiversity management plan at those mining sites. On the other hand, we also have some rehabilitation protocol. We require our mines before they do the mining work, the EIA they must incorporate the biodiversity evaluation, as well as when they put the mine planning, they have to consider about the rehabilitation. So that's kind of a compliance, internal compliance requirements, and numerous successful projects have been done, and has some showcases been shared internally and even outside. On the right of the screen, you could read some projects we have, and the next step is we are going to formalize our approach, and then progressively to report more to our shareholders and to replicate the biodiversity management plan good practices from some side to the rest of the mining sites. Next slide, please.
Okay, Pearson. So I'll take it and do the safety.
Yeah.
You could see on the slide that we do
Next
have.
Slide, please.
Well, I was going to say we have an environmental social governance approach, ESG. We decided this year we were going to switch from a triple bottom line type approach to an ESG approach, environmental, social, and government. So we talked about environmental, and now we're talking about social, and you should see a graph on the left and a triangle with a guy on it on the right side of the screen. And this represents our safety program over the last several years. We do consider safety to be part of the social aspect. We have a social obligation to provide a safe working environment for our employees so they go home to their families in one piece. And this represents the fact that we've had many linear programs that we implemented over several years. The new CEO, we're trying to be more systematic about that now, and we have a numerous safety system with 3 pillars of continuous improvement, compliance, and communication and training. We're happy to provide more information about that. The next slide simply shows that on the left side there should be 3 gray bars showing the last 3 years and how we have continued to bring down our LTA rate, our lost time accident rate. It's down now at about 1.5. We're not coming down as fast as we have in the past. In fact, we're a little bit stable. We're a little concerned because our goal for 2013 is 1.3, and we're still at 1.5. So we're hoping to keep driving that in the right direction. We have had a great success over many years of bringing it down. You see 89, 90% between 2005 and 2012. But in 2013, we're focusing on the supervisors. We have a program where they are required to do at least one monthly behavior-based safety visit, and we've given them training on doing that. And if you advance the next slide, this is our last slide on safety, which is a huge part of our team's work is on safety. That we have had a focus area on fatality prevention, and we haven't had a fatality in a while now. In these 6 areas, you may have heard me talk about this Series 6 in the past: the blackout, tagout, working at heights, electrical safety, ground control, machine guarding, and mobile equipment. We believe that that's where, after our research, that's where the fatalities occur. So we're working on the top of the Heinrich's pyramid, Heinrich's triangle. safety triangle with the Series 6, and we're working on the bottom through behavior-based safety in our supervisor focus program. But compliance with the MRS safety system and using those communication and training tools is what we're trying to do now, and be a more integrated, systematic approach. So the other aspect of social that is very important is community relations. So if you go to the next slide, Pearson will present that.
Okay. The community, we think the community engagement is essential for the business, and we internally we define some group of protocols, things to align, and require every site to undertake some kind of a stakeholder assessment, and try to map and identify and map their stakeholders and identify the risk, and then create some kind of a continuous improvement plan to develop the community relations. And in order to help the site to put forth some effective initiatives, so we have some toolbox prepared in 2011, and then in 2012 we set up some target from the group level. 20% of our operations should be formalizing their community relation plan, and then in this year it's going to be 30%. So we drive the improvement in that way. And by projects, I think it's internally we have some Sustainable Development Challenge program. This challenge program is not only focused on community, but quite a lot of projects is for in that aspect. So our operation try to open the doors and engage the community by different way, and we upload those SD challenge programs, good practice, into our company website, and also prepare some internal release and share with every operations, so they could identify the local shared value community relation projects, and then run it and participate in the internal SD challenge program every year. So on the right side of the slide, you can see some cases with the numerous. So those community relation projects could be a simple philanthropic donation, or could be some open days and education sponsorship. So it's quite a broader scope on those community relation projects. And one of the point that I want to highlight is every 2 years, the EMA Europe, they have they organize some European Mineral Day, and EMA is an active participating company to the European Mineral Days. Like this year, we have almost 2,700 people from our community to visit our factories and the quarries and enjoy the visit. The theme of this year is biodiversity and some resource efficiencies. Next slide, please. So that's the overall and also the highlight of the EMRI's SD pillars. And let's make a quick conclusion. Internally, we try to drive the improvement or the progress in a systemic way. So you see on environmental, we emphasize environmental management system. On social, we have some toolbox and the protocol on community relation. Also safety is one of the key parts. On corporate governance, we have some internal blue book and business code of conduct and ethics. So those things could help us drive the improvement in a systemic way. And also we have some kind of SD challenge program could create more, could give the site some freedom and bring in some more creative way to promote sustainability. Anyway, the organization structure is a key to drive those improvement and communicate internally and engage both internal and external stakeholders. Thank you very much.
So this is a 60-minute presentation that we've condensed down, and we've gone a little over, so we apologize. And I apologize for being slightly out of sync. I'm actually on vacation now and calling in without an internet connection.
We appreciate you calling in on vacation, Chris. So thank you, Kristen and Pearson. That's a very good presentation. And now we'll move to our next presentation by Fairmount Minerals from Dana Cooper. Dana is the Director of Resin Manufacturing and Product Development for Fairmount Minerals. Prior to joining Fairmount in March 2009, Cooper has held various positions with increasing responsibility at Ashland Casting Solutions. She is a native of Flint, Michigan, and graduated from Michigan State University with a Bachelor of Science degree in Chemical Engineering, and she also has an MBA from Cleveland State University. So with that, we'll turn it over to Dana.
Great, thank you. So good morning. Thank you, Daryl, for providing us the time to highlight a few unique aspects of the Fairmount Minerals Corporate Social Responsibility Report, or known as the CSR report. So that's what we would like to do, is just give you a feel of what we feel are unique aspects of our specific reports. So at Fairmount Minerals, we have been practicing sustainable development for nearly a decade, with integrating our SD into our core business, operations, and culture. The leadership and structure that we have in place to support sustainable development empowers our teams to deliver results year after year. And these results are shown each year in our reports. So what I want to do is highlight a few unique aspects of the reports. So we'll walk through our report themes that we've used in the past years, review the table of contents of the report, and really get into the importance of reporting to complement what Brown Flynn had presented, and how we can communicate and measure our SD pays, because it's really about making that connection with how sustainable development pays. So if you can go to the next slide, and these will be scrolling. If you can just walk through the different report covers. So in 2006, we created our first CSR report using the 3 pillars of sustainability: people, planet, and prosperity, to organize that content. So you can see in 2006, the theme was elevating our focus after our first SD Appreciative Inquiry Summit, where many stakeholders came together for the first time. The next year, we continued to sharpen that focus. In 2008, our report was empowering everyone to dream of a tomorrow and really take a look at how the goals are achieved one by one in 2009. And the next one in 2010, we continued to use that strong roots from 2005 to really promote a strong future. And then in 2011, we were able to really capture innovation, and the theme is inspiring innovation through the 3 Ps, again, the people, planet, and prosperity. And then in this year, we continue to use tools with innovation and really dreaming of what tomorrow could be, really to advance the SD conversation. So building on those innovation processes and really engaging with stakeholders. And the title is Advancing the Conversation. So you can see through all of these report covers, there is uniqueness in both the size and the style of the reports, but the content all centers around our 3 Ps and our accomplishments and measuring against our bold goals that we set inside these. So if you can go to the next slide. So what's unique about Fairmount's CSR reports? We do feel that it's that strong message that we send through the report also is moved throughout the organization for that entire year, as well as with our stakeholders. So each report had and designed a unique theme, and then we also report every year from 2006. So the 2012 report, titled Advancing the Conversation, marks the 7th consecutive annual sustainability report. We're looking to continue on those conversations and reach some new heights, educating stakeholders and reporting on our progress on our bold goals, which have been defined in every report since 2006. So we continue to encourage and broaden the range of stakeholder groups that we show and work with, and really promote the communication of this report. So communicating the annual reports, both in a full report, which this year is 54 pages, and in a summary report, which is 5 pages, it was pretty standard with most folks who do complete these reports. What's unique about that is we provide multiple methods of communication. We'll offer hard copies, we will email via the web. And the new thing for 2012 is the summary report has Twitter hashtags attached to the different sections to allow us to expand our reach using social media. So that's one way, you know, when you look at the different technology that's available today, we've been able to launch and really connect with a different level of individuals. The next slide, please. So this is the report cover, and it really provides stakeholders with robust, accurate information about Fairmount Minerals. It includes stories and a lot of information about our family members. It highlights our accomplishments throughout the year and really shows some key advantages to different partnerships that we have, one being with the IMA-NA. Next. So this is a typical table of contents. We pulled this one from the 2012 Sustainability Report. So we can walk through this table of contents just so you can get the sense of the specific areas and also give you an overview of what's included. But I will highlight some of the specific areas. So each year, stakeholders review the CSR report. During the online process, we will ask a few questions to be able to rate their favorite sections as well as provide comments. For the groups that we review the hard copy or in a presentation style format, we will ask for that feedback as well. So it's a really nice way to make sure that we're relaying the messages. But our messages from our CEO and president always receive very high ratings. They demonstrate our commitment and highlight our core values. And that's really that leadership commitment that we have there. As you move down to the organizational profile, this provides our mission. Our mission is do good, do well. And also in there, we really described our 12 guiding principles. So it's the backbone from the organization. In the sustainability strategy, this is shown through our triple bottom line approach with people, planet, and prosperity. So you will see different elements there and different ways that we engage in stakeholder engagement, as well as partnerships and collaborative organizations are really key elements of our strategy. So our partners provide unique perspectives of our company through the industries and through the marketplaces. So we really look to advance those conversations with those members and of the industrial and professional organizations. So there's a lot of information there that you'll be able to take a look at the end of this presentation when we provide you with the copies of the report. As far as our 2012 performance, we are very excited this year to promote and provide. This was the first year that we exceeded 100% on average achievement of our SD goals. So we've been measuring these goals since 2006, and 2012 marks the first time that we have been over 100% on average of these goals. And this is a unique aspect within Fairmount Minerals. As we track and we monitor our goals, everyone's bonus structure is tied to achieving our SD goals at a number with 50%. So 50% of the bonus structure is tied to us achieving these SD goals. So you can see the commitment. The report also details the 2013 13 bold goals which is communicated to all of our stakeholders. Each of the volunteer-led SD teams sets a specific long-term stretch goal. So for example, in 2005, one of our bold goals was to become zero waste to landfill in 2015. So that was a very long-term goal. And this report in 2012 is happy to include that 6 locations have achieved this in 2012. So you can see how we're monitoring and measuring that. We were able to, when you look at the people, the planet, and the prosperity, all 3 sections, you really can highlight some unique achievements. Individuals in health and safety, in health and wellness, in diversity, in education training. So you can see examples, and they're cited, of stories that are collected throughout the year and then provided to our partners to assist us in putting this report together. Also, we have partnered with Brown-Flynn on the reports and show the requirements against the GRI G3.1 guidelines and the 10 principles of the United Nations Global Compact. So all of that information is detailed at the end of the report concerning how we measure ourselves against GRI. Next. So the folks on the phone that have not created a CSR report, the benefits to communicating your CSR report, you can really highlight in your people, your planet, and then your prosperity. So as far as people, you can look at both internal and external stakeholders and engage them in the conversations and the programs in your companies. Also, you can utilize this tool to educate new and existing employees on your SD culture, as well as use it to promote and brand yourself with potential employees or just in your communities. So really using your report to build brand awareness is something that can really help you as you provide your messages in the areas. So when you look at planet, the environment, transparency in your communities is key. So as we always say, sustainable development is our social license to operate, and every day we all strive to exceed those expectations for exceptional environmental stewardship in the communities where we operate. But really, this is a document that you can send to someone that really can show them your progress and your goals, where they can help even assist you with achieving those goals. So the next one, for prosperity purposes, measuring how your SD pays. So sustainable development pays. It doesn't cost. If you can go to the next one. Really look at that. So when you demonstrate your actions through measurements and monitoring. So we believe that investment in sustainable development through our people, our environment, and the communities where we operate is a true investment in our organization. So we are advancing that global conversation on sustainable value by measuring and reporting the financial returns on those investments. And we do this each year. The SD pays for 2012 totaled $6.5 million. And that takes into account all of the expenses that we have for traveling for all of our team members on our 13 teams, any donations, all the dollars that are captured there. So those are all captured as expenses, which our expenses in 2012 were $5.1 million. But the savings captured were $11.6 million. So when we say that $6.5 million is our SD pays, that is $11.6 million of savings with the expenses of the $5.1 million. And also, this process allows everyone in the organization and all of our stakeholders to really look at measuring and monitoring the projects that we work on. So I would advise you to look in your organizations to determine ways where you can begin to capture savings from those ongoing projects today that you're already doing, to see how you can report those in the future years and enhance that reporting commitment that you can make. Next. So in conclusion, unique items discussed included our expanded reach in engaging a broader set of stakeholders and exploring new ways of communication tools using the web, using Twitter. How can we attract more audiences to this report? I believe a lot of the audience today at the webinar has our EH&S professionals. So one thing, when we talk to different groups, and we've talked to many groups in the EH&S arena, you know, if you're looking at reporting for the first time, you know, be careful not to add the S to EH&S. So, you know, to the environmental, health, safety, and sustainability. And also caution you to not just change the title of your EH&S report that might already be established to a sustainability report, because as you read through these reports and you see the level of detail, it really has a broader reach in all of these areas. So advancing that conversation with your stakeholders is important for sustainable development. Utilizing innovative methods and best practices will also help you grow, and you can demonstrate these best practices through your report. And always remember to take time to celebrate and document your successes. I mean, that's where you build a lot of your information. And basically renew everyday commitments to make sure that business decisions are made on those 3 pillars of sustainability, you know, the social aspect, the economic aspect, and the governance. And the CSR report is a very effective method to communicate your efforts. So please take time to review the Fairmount Minerals report online. There's a link here, and I will also be sending Daryl a link to our summary report where you can look at the Twitter hashtags as well. So thank you very much for your time today, and any questions you have, please email in to Daryl.
Okay, thank you very much, Dana. Holly, are you on the line?
I am, yes.
Okay, good. We were showing an error with you, so we're glad you're still there. And get your presentation up here. So next I will introduce Holly Belmond. Holly is the Director of Operations Excellence at US Silica. In addition to driving performance improvements at the company's plants and mines, Holly also leads the environmental and sustainability programs. She joined US Silica in 2012 after working for 15 All yours, Holly.
Thanks, Daryl. I have to say I really am enjoying listening to the other speakers on this call. There's so much to learn from each other, and I do hope this is something that IMANA can repeat each year as one of my charges each year. I'm sure it's great to hear from the leads of each company reporting and talking about what is of special interest and emphasis in their companies. Let me do the next slide, please, Daryl. So just a little bit about US Silica. We are 113 years old. We've gone public in 2012, and that has brought a great deal of change to a very stable and long-term company. We're a US-based company. We are traded on the New York Stock Exchange, and we have about 18 locations, including 15 mines. Also here you can see the oil and gas plays. We provide sand to our traditional industrial specialty products customers, and have some customer relationships that are literally decades long. And then we have also in the most recent years begun to deliver material to the oil and gas fields. So this is the oil and gas basins and shale plays overlaid with our locations. Thank you. For the next slide. So we've heard of this great information from Margie and Brown Flynn at the beginning about people, planet, and prosperity. And Brown Flynn did a good job of explaining the format that we actually use in our company, which is people, planet, and prosperity. I think if you flip again, I'm missing part of this slide. Oh, thank you. We started our program in 2010, and at that time, well, I'm sorry, about the fall of 2011, and our very first report focused on 2010. We have a 2011 report and a 2012 report so far. And at the early phases of our planning process, we've developed some bold goals. So we have 9 bold goals, 3 in each area related to people, planet, and prosperity. And I have these for you here. Some are broad brush, and some are a little bit more specific. So, for example, under people, no one will be injured, no reportable incidents, no lost time incidents. That's an overarching goal. And then under planet, reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 20%. That's a much more specific goal. These, again, are our bold goals that we begin really with 2012 actions, and we'll be bridging towards 2017 to complete. Just before we flip, the last part I might as well mention on prosperity, we include some things in prosperity that could arguably be planet or people, but enhancing quality of life and prosperity for our employees. So, if you could go to the next slide, please. I want to now talk about our sustainability organization and how we get to those 2017 bold goals. So we have the CEO, Brian Shin, who's obviously very supportive of our initiatives in this area, and as Dana described, releases a message each year as part of our annual report. Then within the organization, we have a sustainability council led by Mike Winkler, who's our executive sponsor, VP of Operations. Then I'm the chair of this group, and then we have 9 people on this group. And the gray boxes on the right are some of the departments involved. There's a couple others. I think it's easy, as Dana said, to make this just as straight up EHS responsibility, but you can't quite get all of the nuances of the general SD strategy if you don't incorporate finance, procurement, and R&D as part of your sustainability approach. So the way we communicate sustainability internally as we go through the years, we have annual goal setting, goals that are developed and supported the 2017 bold goals, then get incorporated into our plant manager goals for the year, and that is part of their performance objectives. We have then a report, kind of a committee meeting each month to talk about where we are relative to our goals, and that includes information coming from the plants, some safety, some procurement ones, including really packaging reduction and recycling would come from procurement. And then we update our executive management team each quarter, and then the board of directors what is of interest to them in terms of goals. And I think it's been said earlier, but there's many reasons to do sustainability. I grew up in Pittsburgh myself, and I remember playing in the slag dumps around the city, and driving by just rusty hunks of garbage firsthand and experience. Last time I checked, a steady population decline since the 1960s. So when I'm at our locations and our sites that are very often in very small towns, I understand the importance firsthand of what it means for a company to take the time to outreach to. So one thing I want to talk about is how we do community outreach specifically as part of sustainability. I think that might not have been touched on as much by the other companies. I want to make sure that I offer something unique to what US Silk is doing, in addition to what we might consider some of the standards around SD. So community outreach is obviously near and dear to everybody on this call's heart, because of our social license to operate is really lies in the hands of how we're perceived to be by the community, not even what we are doing, but what our perception is in the community. And so we have these community outreach teams. This is just developed in 2012. That is often led by the plant manager, but maybe somebody else who's more tied to the local community. And then they invite key stakeholders to participate in what we call our community outreach team. Excuse me. The community outreach team then engages these local stakeholders at meetings on site or possibly in a public place near the plant and discusses ways that U.S. silica can have a positive impact on the community. And that's in terms of time donation, just understanding what's going on in the community, greater needs as seen by community stakeholders, and also offers an opportunity to discuss public perception and address any concerns of issues being observed or forecast or rumors going around about what's going on at the plant, or just general time to open and have an open forum about the company and get to the bottom of issues. So this has been an extremely effective way for us to engage the community, and each of these community outreach teams are as unique as our sites. We have some sites with 150 employees and others with under 10. And it doesn't matter what size the plant is, in these small towns, especially where we're often the biggest thing happening. Stakeholders like the mayor, maybe a public school official. In some cases, it's clergy, and it's connected, and we chose this theme because it demonstrates how we are as a company and leadership team connecting to our employees, of course to our customers, to the financial analysts who want to learn more about our company, to sustainability message, how we connect to potential recruits in terms of new employees, and then, of course, how we connect our own employees to their communities through sustainability by them engaging in what's going on with their community. And this is available online. I'll explain that toward the end. Go ahead to the next one, please. This is just some slides of our sustainability executive summary, and they explain back to what I described earlier, the 2017 bold goals and the targets to achieve. So earlier I described the 3 bold goals under people, and then on the right you'll see the 2012 targets. Again, some are more specific than others. This is definitely an area for us to improve, is just goal setting and goal writing. I want to, I'm sorry, just 1 minute. Okay. I want to just let you see these again. This is not meant to be read through. You'll probably get a sense that our company is very people heavy and very people oriented, and that's true. As we change cultures and we develop this new system for being, in other words, by going public and driving sustainability through the fact that we need a lot of incorporation from all of our employees, and we take time each year to educate them on what our annual targets are, and then how are we doing relative to goal. Next slide, please. This is a slide on planet. These are our, again, goals on the left and on the right. Which I would definitely love to hear some dialogue for the end of this call is, do you want to meet all your goals, or should they be set so that you can only reach 95%? In any case, we identified and did achieve our goals, and I'm very proud of that with our company, especially growing and changing like it did in 2012. In some cases, if you look at the bottom, our bold goal on the left, this is reduce, reuse, or recycle 90% of all waste materials resulting from our operations. And on the right, we're still very much baseline here. What is waste material, and what waste streams can we quantify? And what would it look like to develop a recycling program in each facility? In 2013, we've obviously progressed those goals so we can bit more granular on what we're actually doing, where the waste streams are, and we can aspire to the things that Fairmount's doing, like going to zero to the landfill. But as a company, we're just not there evolutionary-wise yet, but we aspire to these greater goals. Next slide, please. These are our goals around prosperity. These, again, the goals on the left and targets on the right. We had a great deal of staff. On the right, it says recruit staff capable of developing new products. That was a big focus for us, is entering new markets, developing new products, patenting products, developing techniques at our existing plants, but also bringing in new staff to help with R&D. So, and new product development, enhancing existing customer relations, and also acquiring new customers through new product development. One thing I'm going to bring to your attention to on the bottom here is integrating triple line thinking into our operations. On the left, that's a bold goal, and on the right, it says initiate operations excellence program by training half of our site managers in advanced manufacturing techniques. This is something that was brought to us by our VP of Operations, and who has a real passion for driving for operations excellence. I think everyone, if they haven't said it explicitly, but everyone who's contributing to this call knows that sustainability and operations excellence and environmental and health and safety all actually have the same elements to them. So for them to drive the same direction is just a matter of alignment. And that's something that we're very proud of what we're doing, and really hidden in our presentation. Those are the elements that underpin the savings that we realize in terms of operational improvement, not just greenhouse gas reduction, but for the sake of reducing our environmental footprint, but clearly for better cost control and a move towards being a more operationally efficient company. Next slide, please. This is our data summary. We have some things we're incredibly proud of on this list here. I'd like to draw your attention to our lost time incident rate, which is remarkably low, and our total reportable incident rate is at 100 people of 1.98 and holding. So we are a decision-based safety company. We have goals this year to significantly increase the number of decision-based safety observations being taken at the plant level this year, and so we always have a vigilant eye on safety, as well as some of the other companies have discussed. This data summary is part of our report, so I don't want to go through it in detail, but another thing worth mentioning is the very top line under people, total number of employees, how much we've grown in 3 years, and this year we've added another 30 or 40 employees to that. So that's something that we are really exciting. It's exciting to be part of such a high growth industry, and also demands that we have a lot of rigor around what we're doing in terms of our strategy, and sustainability answers a lot of those needs for the company of how to communicate with our stakeholders, employees, and the communities around us. Next slide, please. Okay, this is just an example of an employee and how we do something around daily safety discussion. This is just sort of a personal interest story for one of our plants in Michigan. And the note really important there is at the bottom is that the plant hasn't had a lost time injury since 2003, and last recordable was in 2004. We have a plant in Louisiana with well over 20 years that's accident free, and this is a real testament to the culture that's developed both locally and encouraged by the corporate So just in closing, you can view and download our first 3 sustainability reports through our website, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact me directly. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you very much, Holly. And we have one more. Apologize for that. I had a little bit of trouble echo there for a minute. I hope you all can still hear me. Our last presenter is Craig Johnson, and I know we're running a little over time, so I hope you can all stay on. If you are pressed for time, however, you will be receiving the recording afterwards. So allow me to introduce Craig. Are you still there, Craig?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Craig is Vice President, Corporate Communications and Sustainability for Uniman Corporation. He has an undergraduate degree in engineering and a graduate degree in management from Lehigh University. He was responsible for manufacturing management, facility design, and greenfield construction while at Sperry Corporation and Ford New Holland, and market research and product development for consumer and business-to-business clients while at Nowland Organization. At Uniman, he is responsible for business and new product development, global brand strategy, marketing, and sustainability leadership. Thank you, Craig.
Well, first of all, hey, do we have an echo here?
Try it again.
Do you hear an echo?
I do not. So.
Okay, hang on, I'm going to try something quick. All right, is that better?
Actually, that's worse.
All right, here we go. I'm going to try this. Apparently, the echo is only on my side.
Are you on the? Are you dialed in onto the phone, or are you going through your mic on the computer?
On the phone.
Okay, mute your computer. That's probably where the echo is coming from.
All right, is that better?
Yes, perfect.
Perfect. Sorry, guys. So first of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak on sustainability. Thanks to the IMANA for the opportunity to represent Uniman. Let's go to the first slide, please. I think everyone is aware of Uniman, but just a very, very brief orientation. We are the North American division of the Global Sibelco Group, operating in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. We have 46 mining and mineral processing plants, and we operate with a multi-mineral portfolio, and we sell to a very diversified customer base. And interestingly, we are anything from a homogenized culture. U.S., Canada, and Mexico provides us a great diversity, and also a great diversity of ideas and innovation, sources of innovation. In 2011, Uniman issued its first sustainability report, and I need to take this opportunity to thank Brown Flynn for holding our hand through the process. It was very interesting because we discovered that sustainability is not a foreign concept. It is something that Uniman has been practicing since its inception in 1970. You know, by the very nature of our business, mining requires a long-term perspective, and you know, we have been out of necessity, out of continuous improvement, we have been operating in a sustainable manner. But the nice thing about sustainability and sustainable development programs is that it provides a very convenient framework for us to organize and to publicly share the initiatives that we have underway here at Uniman. So our first report issued in 2011. We've adopted a 2-year reporting cycle, and we're preparing our 2013 report right now. Can we go to the next slide, please? When you think of all the stakeholder groups that are interested in mining, and particularly interested in mining, there's a very compelling case for everyone in the business to pursue sustainability. You know, it becomes a platform for very effective stakeholder communications. And stakeholders being everyone from current and future employees to customers to community members to regulators, oversight agencies, investors, everyone who has an interest in Unimon's business. And because that's such a diverse audience, we've discovered that the sustainability report is a very effective way to consolidate a lot of different information and a lot of very diverse initiatives under that single banner. Under our sustainability program falls Unimon's safety and health and wellness programs. We share information on resource planning and management. We address customer partnering and customer satisfaction. We also talk about economic performance and our role as an economic engine in the local communities that we operate. We certainly use sustainability as a way for us to organize our community initiatives, to try to direct our community action plans. And certainly it's an opportunity for us to address and to engage both current and future employees of the company. Ultimately, I think the most important part of sustainability is the fact that you're offering information that has been independently certified by a third party. So it ceases to become just public relations. It really is documentation of responsible business practices. Can we go to the next slide, please? For many of us in the mining industry, sustainability finds its roots in environmental projects or wildlife habitat initiatives, and perhaps this was the same first impression that Unimon had when we first got started in sustainability, and that's why the materiality exercise becomes such a critical function, because it's an opportunity for the company to broaden the scope by inviting all the various stakeholders to participate in the process. There are certainly issues that are important to the company, necessary to be competitive. There are issues that are important to the community or to the regulators or to the employees, certainly to the public at large. And then there are, when you combine all those things together, you find that important space where you can actually gain a synergistic advantage, an operational excellence by meshing together all of those important aspects. In order for that to happen, we need to authentically connect with our stakeholders. There has to be a true dialogue, what's important, and how can we address what's important to our stakeholders. And in many cases, those are, again, are very divergent requirements, and the trick is to find the common thread between all of them. The advantage, of course, is that it provides valuable information that enhances the management and decision-making process. And it is that discovery process that allows us to create valuable strategies, valuable initiatives for all of our stakeholders. And we take a very proactive stance as opposed to making a decision in a vacuum and then trying to defend that decision. Most importantly, as some of our prior speakers have also mentioned, it is the opportunity to balance our economic objectives with our social objectives and our environmental objectives. It's when you find that balance, that is the operational excellence that we're looking for. Can we go to the next slide, please? Because we're kind of new in the process, I thought I would share for a minute our first report experience. You know, we've found that sustainability and sustainable development is very consistent with our continuous improvement culture. We also found that there is a real synergy between sustainability and the company's innovation initiatives. So what we've been able to do with our sustainability program is to put our stakeholders at the center of our operational and managerial systems. With that important input, we can understand what the customer needs, what the community needs, what the regulating agencies need, certainly what our own employees need. In order to make that happen, in our first reporting sequence, the team construct turned out to be the most important decision that we made. We were able to, with endorsement from our executive management, we were able to assemble a team that represented the whole cross-section of the company. Operational people, people from safety, health, environmental, certainly finance, the commercial side. And they became the conduit for information that came from stakeholder groups that they represented. Certainly part of that was the discovery process where we went through that materiality exercise and we looked for key performance indicators. Going back to that chart that we showed just a minute ago, where we looked for the upper right quadrant, what is important to the stakeholder and what is important to the company. By combining those key performance indicators with what we feel is our company vision, our core values, and our best practices, we were able to come up with a sustainability program that really reflected our business culture and reflected the best of everyone's requirements and what was best for the Uniman to be sustainable going forward. Can we go to the next slide, please? One of the important things that we learned in the process was, the power of our employee organization. It turns out, as I'm sure every company who has gone through the sustainability initiative, is that your employees are your best ambassadors. They reflect the community concerns and interests, and certainly they're the most valuable asset to try to engage the many stakeholders that you have to satisfy in the process. Our sustainability programs also have the benefit of a very, very robust safety and health program, personal sustainability initiatives, which include wellness and educational programs. And when it's connected to our innovation and continuous improvement programs, we found the greatest opportunity to measure and to monitor and to collaboratively focus on the projects of mutual interest for all for all of our stakeholders. The result is we're issuing a report that is transparent, and we're developing confidence with our stakeholders so that they understand what is our intent and how we can move forward together. Can we go to the next one, please? Now Margie Flynn had described 3 different associations that provide certification for sustainability programs. We opted for the Global Reporting Initiative. And the nice thing about the GRI report is that it is flexible enough to focus on your business critical issues, and it also is flexible enough to reflect both your company vision and your company values. The first report is fairly much baseline data, reporting of governance, and a historical perspective of what the company has done previous. It is in the second report that you look for, that we will report continuity. Everything that we've reported in the first GRI report will be embellished, and a progress report will be issued. It is in the second report that we will also declare our strategic direction. I think one of our other presenters used the term bold goals, which we also use to establish where we think we can make some significant improvements, both operational improvements and also improvements as it relates to social and environmental aspects. And then with third report and subsequent reports, the idea is to publish, to measure and publish results, and then to continuously improve. So if we go to the last slide. Thank you. If it sounds like common sense, that's exactly the point. A successful sustainability program serves both the company interests as well as the social and environmental interests. It's truly a win-win proposal for those who engage in sustainability. But if I can offer a few observations from our first efforts, it is critically important that you assemble a team with representatives from all disciplines, because those people will be the primary conduit to the various stakeholders that you must engage in order to go through that materiality process. It is in the materiality process that you define your key performance indicators and you establish your boundaries so that you're not trying, borrow a phrase from Margie Flynn, we're not trying to boil down the ocean. We're trying to focus and make improvements in specific areas. I think it's also good advice to anyone trying to get into the sustainability for the first or second or subsequent time is that the position has to be based upon current operating culture and business objectives. It is first and foremost a system designed to manage your company. And with that in mind, we have to establish realistic and sustainable goals. Pick topics that are important to your company's economic well-being and to the community's well-being, the customer's well-being, your employees' well-being, and it will be a system that will work. And finally, it's very important that throughout the organization that you communicate the value of the sustainability program and you encourage participation, because it is with that increased employee participation, that everyone takes ownership of the program, and it ceases to be a check in the box, and it becomes a part of your operating culture. So that's my presentation, and again, thank you all, and thank you, Daryl, for the opportunity to present.
Well, thank you, Craig, and all of our speakers. We do appreciate it. We do have we are running over on time, but we do have one question which was relative to receiving the Sustainable Development reports that you've done. I think we're also going to start posting these on the IMA website. We do occasionally run them in our newsletter as well. But in the email you receive after this webinar with the webinar recording, we're going to give you links to the Sustainable Development reports that were talked about today. So again, I do greatly thank our speakers for participating and for our attendees for listening in, and we hope you found value in it. And again, we'll try to do this every year, I believe, and hopefully we'll have more and more of our companies doing Sustainable Development reports. Just a couple reminders. Coming up on August 6th at 2 p.m., we have another webinar on implementing a ISO 18001 Safety and Health Program. Bobby Carlson with Fairmount Minerals is doing that presentation. And then also on August 14th at 2 p.m., we have a webinar on sage grouse. So we hope you attend those. And with that, thanks again to everybody, and I hope you have a nice day.